This meeting will now come to order. This is the November 13th, 2012 meeting of the Town of Fairfield Town Planning and Zoning Commission. I apologize for the delayed start. We're having trouble with our new system of a few months. It's not recording. However, thanks to Fair TV, they are able to record on the television. So we're going to use that. We have to make an official record of all the meetings, as you know, to satisfy the Connecticut Freedom of Information Act. And we cannot do that without our recording device. But luckily, Fair TV is recording, so we will have an audio record of the meeting. Unfortunately, with our system down, the speakers aren't working. So we're going to try to keep our voices up. That's the best we can do. And I apologize for that, but we are recording. The mics are not amplifying. They're just picking up recording of our voices tonight. So the other commissioners just speak normally, a little louder if you could, towards the mics. Fair TV is getting everything on audio, though. It's just not amplifying. So the first item on the agenda for this evening are the meeting minutes for October 23rd, 2012. Is there a motion? Thank you. Commissioner Wagner is moved to approve. Is there a second? Commissioner Parker? Any discussion? Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor of the meetings as proposed for October 23, 2012, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions, minutes are approved unanimously. Next item, old business, 220-278 Pansy Road, request of Ray P.N. Goody for a 100% release of a $7,815 bond pertaining to subdivision improvements in an A zone. Public hearing 10/23/12. Present Commissioners Leclerc, Baratz, Jacobson, Soutar, Wagner, Kennelly, and Parker. Is there a motion on this?
I'll move to approve the bond release.
Thank you. Commissioner Baratz has moved to approve the bond release. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Jacobson has seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of item audio? You have the audio now? Testing, testing, testing. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. 2A, 220-278 Pansy Road, request of Ray P.N. Goody for a 100% release of a $7,815 bond pertaining to subdivision improvements in an A zone. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, item carries unanimously. Next item, 1073 North Benson Road, special exception application of Fairfield University for athletic field and facility improvements in a AA zone. Public hearing 10/23/12, expiration date 12/27/12. Present Commissioners Leclerc, Baratz, Jacobson, Soutar, Wagner, Kennelly, and Parker.
B.
Be approved, eh?
Yes.
Yes.
Roger.
Give you a quick overview. As the chairman had mentioned, the public hearing basically was completed on 10/23/12. Fairfield University makes an application for a special exception approval regarding renovations to the alumni field. One of the components of the proposed renovation was to replace the existing lights. In addition to the lights improvements, the university is also making upgrades to the facility at Alumni Field. The renovations will are proposed to improve the spectator access and pedestrian convenience, which was described to the commission at the hearing. Seating on the field is at 3,000, currently at 3,500, and it is not to be increased. However, there will be a renovation and refurbishment of the seats. New seats will be provided in the grandstand and on the concourse. They are also shifting the existing field footprint from the south to the east to accentuate the improvements that are being done to the lighting. Renovations will also provide for improved ticketing and spectator entrance areas. Public restrooms will be provided with the appropriate fixtures to service the spectators. The renovations also provide for an elevator to meet the needs of the handicapped spectators by providing access to exterior handicapped seating. Also provided will be coaches' rooms for visitors and home teams, and an area for athletic equipment storage. Now, as represented to the commission at the hearing on July of this year, the Zoning Board of Appeals granted a waiver of section 5.2.5 to increase the height of the pole structures proposed for the new field to 75 feet. What was described to the commission, full improvement to the lighting, had to do with the decrease in the field angle of the lighting, with the light poles being increased from 40 to 75 feet, was found to help not only with lighting the field, but eliminating additional impacts from lighting off-site. Along with that, the new lighting fixtures themselves are fixtures designed to direct light effectively while minimizing the light spillage. Again, that fixture was represented to the commission with explanations of how it works. Fairfield University has met with the College Park neighbors to discuss and review the proposal. They discussed that with the commission at the hearing. As a result of that, the university and neighbors had agreed to some provisions. Schedule A was presented to the commission, and there was a request to the commission to, if they felt appropriate, to make any action, any approval of this action, of this proposal, to include whatever conditions of approval are applicable and appropriate to the Planning and Zoning Commission and requirements. That, Mr. Chairman, is pretty much what was presented at the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Devanchik. Is there a motion on this item?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I will move to approve this item, subject to the 11 conditions of approval in Schedule A, which was attached to the statement of use that the applicant presented and that we understood was agreed to by the applicant and the neighbors.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Jacobs is seconded. What I'll do is I'll read the conditions of approval into the record so we have this on the record. This is Schedule A to the statement of use that was submitted. Number one, a representative of Musco, the light supplier to Fairfield University, will visit the property after the installation of the proposed lighting to ensure that the lights are properly focused down onto the field, thus minimizing spillage into College Park. The university will undertake any post-installation modifications required as a result of this inspection, with the opportunity for input from the College Park Association. 2, with the exception of athletic events between schools, Fairfield University agrees that with regard to all other university-related activities and events, the new lights will automatically be turned down to a 50% level at 10 o'clock p.m., 7 days a week throughout the entire year, and turned off completely no later than 12 a.m. midnight. Athletic events between schools are defined for purposes of this understanding as intercollegiate and club-level athletic events, Fairfield University. Interscholastic and club-level athletic events, Fairfield Prep, and intercollegiate and interscholastic athletic events that may not involve either Fairfield University or Fairfield Prep. Examples being preseason games and various postseason games such as league or conference playoffs or championship games for which neither school is eligible. Only athletic events between schools as previously defined may be reason for lighting Alumni Field beyond 12 o'clock a.m. midnight, and only then for the completion of a game and the safe egress of spectators. With regard to any events and activities other than those referenced above, lights will be turned off completely no later than 10 o'clock p.m. 3, it has been further agreed that when the field is not in use, the lights shall not be turned on at all and shall be turned off as promptly as possible, consistent with safety needs after the completion of an activity. 4, during summer months, July and August, when camps may be in progress, the lighting will not exceed 50% at any time and will be turned off completely at 12 o'clock a.m. midnight, except for previously noted official intercollegiate or interscholastic athletic events. 5, in the morning, the lights will not be turned on for any reason prior to 6 o'clock a.m. throughout the year. 6, the university shall provide a screening in the form of plantings, such as arbor vitae, between the baseball field and the intersection of university roads in the vicinity of the baseball field, which will further reduce spillage, especially for those homes on Upper College Park Drive. At the time of planting, these plants will be a minimum of 6 feet above the surrounding grade level, and they will be maintained in good condition over time. 7, the university will maintain the screening provided by the row of pine trees paralleling Carroll Road and down to the new berm at the Grant property, and will replace trees as needed to maintain an effective screen. 8, in conjunction with the contemplated renovation of Alumni Field, the university agrees that the new and updated amplification system will be engineered and installed so as to reduce the impact of sound from speakers traveling throughout College Park, including installation of systems to ensure that the level of public announcements, music, etc., or any other use of the sound system will not exceed 50 decibels at the university property line. 9, the university agrees that Alumni Field renovation, of which the lighting is a part, is to be completed as one project and not in stages, and that the new lights as proposed will not be used until the Alumni Field renovation, including the new stadium, is completed in its entirety. 10, and all accompanying site plan drawings submitted with this application shall apply. And 11, the variance cannot be modified without input from and consent of the College Park Association. And Commissioner Baratz, those are the 11 conditions you referred to?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, they are.
Is there any discussion of this item? Commissioner Jacobs.
After attending a Ludlow prep game the other day at that field, I see the need for the renovations. This will be a major benefit for the university and Fairfield Prep, and at the same time it'll benefit the surrounding community as to have less light spillage and less sound coming out of it, the field, towards the neighborhoods. So it's going to be a win-win for everyone on this one, and I hope that everyone supports it.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacobs. Is there any further comment, Commissioner Soutar?
Yeah, it seems to me it was a very intelligently thought-out application and plan, and it was especially interesting that while improving everything connected with the stadium, including the orientation of the playing field and the comfort of the spectators and the locker rooms for the coaches and so on, they maintained the seating capacity at the existing level of 3,500. So there's no expansion of use. It's basically an amelioration and improvement of an existing facility. And as such, it'll benefit the university and the town. And they have not only consulted with the neighbors, but worked out a very detailed and intelligent set of conditions that will help both the university and its neighbors. So I think it's a good proposal.
Thank you, Commissioner Soutar. Is there any other comment? Just one quick comment. The one thing I do compliment the parties on is meeting together, spending the time. The university spent the time to meet the neighbors in the neighborhood association. I know we were all sitting here watching the large group of people stand up to comment on this, and then we're surprised, not really surprised, but just very pleased that the neighborhood group stood up and asked that we adopt this request of Fairfield University with these conditions that they all negotiated ahead of time, and the university spent the time to reach out with the neighbors, and the neighbors spent the time to work with the university and go on a site tour down to New York to look at similar facilities and come up with some very good conditions. So I compliment both parties on working together as good neighbors to making a proposal that no one opposed in the public that works for everyone. So I just wanted to note that for the record. If there's no further comments, all in favor of this application, 1073 North Benson Road, special exception application of Fairfield University for athletic field and facility improvements in a AA zone, signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Abstentions? Item carries unanimously. Next item, 5151 Park Avenue, special exception application of Sacred Heart University for additions and renovations in an R3 zone. Public hearing 10/23/12, expiration date 12/27/12. Present Commissioners Leclerc, Baratz, Jacobs, Jacobson, Soutar, Wagner, Neely, and Parker. Mr. Bunch?
Yes, just again, a brief overview of what was presented to the commission. As mentioned in the call, Sacred Heart University's Edgerton Center for Performing Arts is located on 51 Park Avenue, opposite the primary entrance to the campus on Park Avenue. The special exception proposal mentioned entails renovation of and additions associated with creating a new entry at the front of the Edgerton Performing Arts Center, and expansion of the existing gallery space adjacent to Edgerton Center for exhibits of art, of contemporary art. Basically, the components that were represented to the commission proposed in this application are: one, demolition of a portion of the existing front canopy and existing roof at the entry, construction of a new entrance to the Performing Arts Center with decorative glass facade treatment, construction of expanded gallery of contemporary art, including a reception area for contemporary art, construction of a new box office and new men's and women's toilets facilities, and renovation of existing courtyard area, including a new canopy feature, new landscaping and paving, and new glass facade storefront along the west side of the courtyard. The proposed area to be renovated encompasses approximately 3,445 square feet, and the proposed addition is approximately 2,250 square feet. There is no modification to the existing Edgerton Center performance area itself, and the existing seating capacity remains unchanged. That pretty much is what was presented to the commission at their hearing.
Thank you. Is there a motion on this item? Commissioner Wagner has moved to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Jacobson has seconded. Any discussion by any member of the commission? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of this application, 5151 Park Avenue, special exception application of Sacred Heart University for additions and renovations in an R3 zone, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions, item carries unanimously. Next item, 960 Mill Hill Terrace, subdivision application of Round Hill Road Associates LLC for 3 lots in an R3 zone. Public hearing 10/23/12, expiration date 12/27/12. Present commissioners Leclerc, Baratz, Jacobs, Jacobson, Soutar, Wagner, Neely, and Parker. Mr. Devonshek.
Yes, sir. The subject property is located on the north side of Mill Hill Terrace, approximately 300 feet east of Acorn Lane. It is adjacent to the east of a driveway for the Connecticut Health Southport. It has a total area of approximately 1 acre, 1.679 acres, and is in a residential R3 zone. The parcel is presently vacant. The proposal is to subdivide the parcel into 3 zone-conforming lots. The minimum lot area in this zone is 20,000 square feet. Proposed lot all exceed this minimum lot area. The plan is to build 3 houses. Each house will be serviced by public sewer, public water supply. There already exists a sewer lateral to lots 1 and 2. The existing water line runs on the side of Mill Hill Terrace, closest to the subject property. A proposed stormwater drain will be installed along the front of the proposed lots and tied into the existing town catch basin just outside the southeast property corner. A stormwater recharge system is proposed for the drainage on this proposed subdivision. The proposal is to install underground stormwater chambers. Upon final grading, seeding, and site stabilization, any and all temporary soil erosion control measures will be removed and disposed of in a proper manner. That erosion and sedimentation plan was submitted to Commission and described as part of the application documents. No road construction is proposed as part of this application. There were 2 areas of consideration discussed at the hearing. They included 1, line of sight for Lot 1. Overgrown brush and growth must be removed from the town right-of-way. This was an engineering recommendation. The applicant should submit an application for tree and shrub removal to the town tree warden. A 5-foot clear zone to be preserved by a way of an easement. Again, was also recommended by the engineering department. Number 2, there was some discussion about the location of the proposed Lot 3 driveway. The applicant was asked if it was possible to have this driveway entrance switched to the west side of the proposed house, therefore being further away from the Connecticut Health access way. The applicant at the hearing did indicate that that was something that they felt was possible, and it could be acceptable as a condition of this commission's approval. That's what was presented at the hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Devonshek. Is there a motion on this item? Commissioner Parker has moved to approve. Is that with the conditions as Mr. Devonshek read in the record, the engineering conditions plus the Lot 3 driveway flipped to the west side? Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Soutar is seconded. Any discussion? Commissioner Barrett?
Yeah, I mean, this is a 3-lot subdivision. There was no real issues raised at the hearing. It complies. I'll also point out that, just sufficient evidence was presented that adequate sight lines are achieved. There was documentation to that. And also, as Mr. Jacobs questioned in the hearing, the minimum squares were achieved without using anything that would restrict construction of a house on it, according to the plans too. So it meets our subdivision requirements, so I think we need to approve it.
Thank you, Commissioner Barrett. Is there any further discussion by any member of the commission?
Yeah, I just had a question about the driveway on Lot 3.
Yes.
The driveway on Lot 3 seems to be designed to lead to the garage side of the house, and although the applicant said that they thought they could move it, it seems to me they would have to reverse the design of the house or something like that. And I'm looking at the distances on the site plan. I'm not sure the driveway is really close enough to that access way to cause a problem. I don't see any actual numbers indicating what the exact distance is between the driveway and the access way. So I'm not sure if it's a real problem.
Yeah, I'm actually the one that raised that during the hearing, the fact that the driveway is near that road leading to the back, and it looks like, I think it is actually, if you run a scale on it, it's maybe 50.
So the frontage is 53 feet apparently. With the driveway, must be 12 feet at least.
And it looks like it's a little less than 15 if I'm reading the scale right. Maybe, somewhere between, something like that. And that's why I thought it was a little bit close, given the size of that driveway, leading back to the nursing home facility. And when I questioned the applicant, I recall he said they would just flip the house.
Flip the house.
Flip the house over, do a flip-flop in the
If
garage.
they're willing to do that, then it seems to me that it's a soluble problem.
And it keeps the traffic away, makes the line of sight that much easier. And if the applicant was willing to do that, it doesn't affect the plan. Mr. Wagner?
Yeah, I thought that those concerns were appropriate, and if you have cars parked in the driveway there, the line of sight could be reduced considerably for the driveway there, the second driveway. And I think it wouldn't need to flip the house, and I think they should submit a revised plan showing that.
Agreed. They will submit as part of our approval. They'll have to submit a revised. Any further discussion by any member of the commission?
I just say we just all remember to speak up tonight. We don't have, I don't know why I'm talking to this mic, we don't have them, so we just have to speak up, make sure that any members of the public that are trying to hear us do hear us. Okay.
We don't have to speak so close as we usually do.
Well, I just say they need to speak up so that the public can actually hear if they're trying to take notes.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion by any member of the commission? Hearing none, all in favor of this application, 960 Mill Hill Terrace, subdivision application of Round Hill Road Associates, LLC, for 3 lots in an R3 zone, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions, carries unanimously. Next item. 5401 Park Avenue, request of Sacred Heart University to review revisions to a building plan, approved March 27, 2012, public hearing 10/23/12, present, Commissioners Leclerc, Baratz, Jacobs, Jacobson, Soutar, Wagner, Neely, and Parker. Roger.
Yeah, essentially what the commission held here was an informational hearing. Sacred Heart University had a special exception, and basically what they're asking the commission to decide is whether or not a new application is required for revisions that they're making to an approved plan, which I'll describe really briefly what they presented at that informational hearing. The university, as I just mentioned, received an approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission on March 27, 2012 for construction of a combined business education building at this site. When they went ahead and reanalyzed the university's students' needs as well as the value of the specific and the cost for construction of what initially was approved, it led them to modify the proposed building and site design. The proposed redesign basically includes a slight reduction in the building footprint, but essentially in the same location. The substitution of certain building materials, primarily the substitution of exterior elevation of brick in lieu of metal and copper in lieu of stone. And the elimination of the lowest level, there was a 2-level parking area below the proposed building. This proposed revision eliminates the lower level of the underground parking and relocates a portion of that to Jefferson Street level, and then the remainder to on-grade parking. The total number of parking spaces provided remains at 210 spaces. This design changes are coupled with the inclusion of the School of Communication in the new building in lieu of the School of Education, which would remain at this present site, which is off-site from the university. Was represented at the commission, they felt that this change in the school education as opposed, or communication as opposed to education, would somewhat reduce whatever traffic was anticipated for the original makeup of the schooling. The proposed changes constitute no change, if you remember, to the height of the building, and no change to proposed site drainage of building, which was described again for the commission at the hearing. And the relocation of underground parking to a different level on grade was described. Along with that, those changes, there was a landscaping enhancement that was described to the commission at the hearing. And also, there was some question about access to the underground parking area, and the commission felt, in discussion with the applicant, that the remaining underground parking should have some better directional signage, so that there is no confusion on the circulation access. Basically, there's 2 points of access to this site right now, and the commission felt with appropriate signage, it could eliminate some type of undue traffic issues that might take place in attempting to access the lower level. If you remember, the university at the hearing had no particular problem with that. They did mention, though, that a lot of that parking area would be controlled with key access. So anyway, that pretty much, real briefly, outlines what was submitted at the informational hearing. Again, the commission is being requested right here basically to do one thing, is to determine whether or not these changes are in a sense consistent with the original intent of the special exception approval that this commission granted. If not, the commission could then now require a new application or an application to modify the current approved special exception. The only comment I'll make is the information that you would receive at any reapplication or amendment or a hearing to actually amend formally the current application would essentially be the information you have received, unless there's some other questions you might have. So that pretty much what was submitted at the hearing.
Thank you. Okay, so is there a motion on this item? Any member of the commission? Commissioner Baratz?
I'll take a shot at it. Mr. Chairman, I move that we make a finding that, based upon our review of the revisions to this plan, that a new special exception application is not required, that the modifications are consistent with the original plan.
Thank you, Commissioner Baratz. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Wagner is seconded. Any discussion?
I'll discuss.
Commissioner Wagner?
Thank you. So I'm very, very happy that we asked them to come in for an informational session. I think that was initially raised by Commissioners Baratz, myself, and Leclerc. It was most helpful to be able to get some information from the applicant, an explanation about why they were feeling the need to redesign this. The bottom line, from what I heard, is that when they went to construction, they hit ledge, and they had to reconfigure some of the parking underground and so forth. That led them down a process of rethinking the internal configuration of the schools, and that actually combining the two schools would give cross-pollination to the studies and so forth. So at the end of the day, they came out with what they think is a much better plan than what they first came in with. We were able to talk to them about some of the traffic flows and the pedestrian walkways that need to be changed now that they had a change in the surface parking and so forth. I feel it necessary to comment because it is a fairly substantial change in the original plan, but it is consistent with the original grant of the special exception, and that's why I'm supporting it. So I don't think that we would have had enough information without the public hearing and without the supplemental materials that they gave us for that extra hearing, which we didn't have in the first go-around when it was submitted on paper. So I thought that exercise was very helpful. It also gave the public an opportunity to come out and hear and also voice their opinions if they wanted to do so. So I hope everyone will support the motion and adopt this.
Thank you, Commissioner Wagner. Commissioner Parker?
Again, I agree with my colleague on this. I think they did quite a good job in satisfying the questions we had. They gave us a very good planting arrangement. We raised questions about the the trees and plantings that would be with the new design. Also, I think aesthetically, their change in materials was very successful. I think it was an improvement on their earlier design. So I, of course, will support this and hope my colleagues will as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Parker. Ready, Commissioner Soutar?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that the architect who presented the applicant's revised plans did an outstanding job of clarifying what the plans were and giving us all a better understanding of it. And in fact, I think his highly intelligent presentation created a lot of confidence in all the commission members that this is a sound plan and a workable plan and something that should be approved.
Thank you. Is there any further comment by any member of the commission? Hearing none, all in favor of application of 5401 Park Avenue, request of Sacred Heart University to review revisions to a building plan approved March 27, 2012, with a finding of a new special exception application is not required, as articulated by Commissioner Baratz, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions. Item carries unanimously. Now we're on to compliances. First compliance. For what it's worth. 1964 Post Road, application of Yang Yun Kim and Yani Kim for exterior alterations for a new roof line in a designed commercial district.
Okay, this is the existing friendly cleaners on the Post Road. In your packet, there's a photo of what the building looks like presently. Also in your packet is a plan to put a new roof line above that flat entry. It is not proposed to be occupied space. The building is proposed to be re-sided, and so they just want to try to dress up the front of the building to make it look more attractive. So again, there's no, while it appears to be an addition, there is no physically occupied space proposed.
Thank you. Mr. Wendt, is there a motion on this item? Mr. Jacobs has moved to approve. Is there a second? Second. Mr. Jacobs has seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Jacobs?
Just want to make sure that when we do write up the approval on this, that we state that there will not be occupied space.
Yep. Mr. Jacobs wanted the minutes to note that this approval will be with recognition of this not being occupied space in the addition. As was proposed by the applicant, it's not to be occupied or conditioned. Is there any further discussion? It would seem that, Mr. Franzen has designed this to comply with the architectural standards that we have for other parts of Fairfield, and that's refreshing because this commission has talked in our planning sessions about perhaps extending those architectural guidelines on the Post Road Gateway West neighborhood. We started looking at that from Mill Plain Road into Southport. So this is a nice first step with the business recognizing how well it's worked downtown, having those guidelines, and making a facade change, keeping with those same guidelines that we've introduced here. So, that being said, is there any further discussion by any member of the commission? Hearing none, all in favor of this compliance application, 1964 Post Road application of Yang Young Kim and Yani Kim for exterior alteration for a new roof line in the designed commercial district, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions, item carries unanimously. Next item on the compliance calendar, 187 Kings Highway cutoff application of New Country Motor Cars for exterior alterations and a new sign plan in a designed commercial district. Mr. Wendt.
Okay, this, excuse me, this is the Lexus pre-owned facility on Kings Highway. There are two things going on here. Firstly, with respect to the facade, they're looking to do a fieldstone veneer on the building, which is now masonry, and replace the existing sign band with a new band, a new storefront glass. The signs will be similar to what's there presently, except it will, instead of saying Lexus Fairfield, it'll say New Country Lexus in pre-owned. So the signs are very similar to what is presently there, but a new, more dressed-up facade, stone veneer facelift of the building is proposed.
Thank you, Mr. Wendt. Is there a motion on this item? Anyone?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Soutar has moved to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Commissioner Baratz has seconded. One question I had, Mr. Wendt, in the application submitted here, there's a statement on page 2 at the top that indicates our client seeks to install one new wall sign on the north and west facades, each totaling less than 72 square feet. All other components of the sign are in compliance with the town of Fairfield regulations. Does that suggest that her proposal, or the client's proposal for the wall sign on the north and west are not in compliance with regulations? Because she says all other components are in compliance, that would lead me to suggest that she's proposing something not in compliance.
No, 72 square feet is the standard, so that's an interesting choice of language, but we're confident that it fully complies
That's
with
what I
all the
wanted to
specs.
confirm, that as a condition of this approval, it should be clear that we are approving only a sign which is in compliance with our regulations, despite the choice of wording here.
Correct.
Which would suggest that they're proposing something not in compliance with our regulations. So with that being said, is there any discussion by any member of the commission?
Yeah,
Commission
I just,
there? Parker?
From looking at the plans and the drawing, I just have a little trouble determining how extensive the backlighting on the sign is. I want to be clear about that.
Mr. Wendt, could you enlighten us? Unintended.
Yeah, the lighting of the sign is illuminated to their proposed channel letter sign, so there's a cross-section in one of your drawings that shows an LED array, but that is behind the plexiglass face of the sign, so it will not be an exposed LED fixture.
Yeah, there's a drawing entitled Pre-Owned Facility Signage Illuminated Lexus Logo and Letters by Pattison Sign Group. Submitted as part of the package. They haven't numbered their drawings, unfortunately. And it shows the facade, the fasteners, the acrylic, the white LED string behind
Which is behind the letters.
the letters itself. If you see the white, Commissioner Parker, you can see where it's labeled white acrylic. The white acrylic, if you look at the drawings being what Commissioner Baratz is holding up. If you look at some of the other drawings, right now they're individual letters. What's proposed is going to be the acrylic. And am I correct that only the band behind the sign is being illuminated as opposed to a stripe around the entire building? Something else I wasn't quite clear of. If you look at the drawing, what they're showing here, maybe we should talk about that. If you look at their drawing of the proposed exterior rendering, they show these white bands apparently around the entire building. And I was a little confused if they're planning on lighting up that entire building with a white band around the whole building, claiming that's their sign. I was a little
No, right now, if you look at the photo on the front, there's a photo of how it is now.
Correct.
There's a kind of a stucco-like material from which the letters project.
correct.
What they're looking to do is replace that band with more of a metallic, and I've got the sample material over here. Basically, it's a metallic panel from which those letters will project. So only the letters within the sign are proposed to illuminate.
So the only illumination is the portion then of that. If you look at the drawing, again, not labeled here, what is this? Proposed exterior rendering by synthesis. The only portion that we would be approving as illuminated is that section behind the words New Country Lexus with their Lexus logo and the words pre-owned.
Right.
They're not lighting up that entire building.
Correct.
We should note that on the record, that that's what we're approving, not something else. Commissioner
Yeah,
Soutar.
yeah. I just want to ask Mr. Wendt, do you know what a LUCO bond is? Because I certainly don't.
I'm sorry.
A LUCO bond.
ALUCOBOND.
Yeah, it calls it a LUCO bond panel in connection with the sign.
We actually have a,
It's the finish.
There's kind of a piece of it here.
It appears in the drawing they're only illuminating how we should interpret this, the white LEDs behind the words New Country, pre-owned, not the entire panel as well. We'll just hand this around so everyone can look at the stone. There's a sample of the stone here and the Luco bond here. We'll let everyone look at that before we go.
in the drawing seem to be black, but yet in the diagram of the, it seems to be a gray. So is it black or is it gray?
It's it's black when it's not illuminated, and it's white when it illuminates.
You're talking about the background. I think Mr. Jacobs is talking about the letters.
actual letters.
Right.
So they're going to be,
They don't light up black. It'll be, the faces will appear white when they're illuminated, like they do presently.
We don't have a picture.
It's like the lettering is gray acrylic.
So only the letters themselves are lighting up then?
Correct.
Okay, maybe that's it, because if you look at their drawing, it's far from a clear drawing that Commissioner Parker referred to. I thought that they were going to make the entire panel behind the letters somehow illuminated with the dark letters with the white background, as opposed to just the letters being illuminated, almost like a reverse illumination. I don't know that the lights in the letters.
If you look at the diagram, it looks like the LED strip is along the wall, and then 5 inches in front of that are the letters,
Which are gray
which are gray.
with white background. So when one turns the lights on, the letters are actually, I don't think they're going to illuminate. Aren't they going to be?
Just backlit.
They're going to appear dark when they're not illuminated, and they will be lighter, a whitish gray, when they illuminate. The LED is behind the plexiglass.
Not
Like a s-
behind each letter, but behind the entire strip of the letters.
Correct.
I don't
It's a
think
strip.
No,
I don't think they're running the LED just behind each letter.
They are. Each letter, the cabinet, the letter has the letters have a depth of 5 inches. A channel letter is called a channel letters. It's got a depth. There's a channel in there of 5 inches. They used to be fabricated with bent neon, would be behind each individual letter. Now with LED technology, it's much cheaper to do it LED. But yes, each individual letter is illuminated separately.
So each letter is a separate. Okay, so if you read this, it does say letter detail, logo detail. So, okay. So
Each letter is its own little
each
cabinet. It's an
letter's its
enclosed
own
cabinet that's got
individual
LED fixtures within it.
Despite the color of these drawings, these are far from clear. Figure out what they're showing. Thank you, Seth. Any further discussion of this item, any commissioner? Hearing none, all in favor of 187 Kings Highway cutoff application of New Country Motor Cars for exterior alterations and new sign plan, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions. There being nothing else in executive session, we will stand for a brief recess and then go to the public hearing on 2226 Black Rock Turnpike and 428, 448 Old Stratfield Roads. We will stand in a brief recess. We're back in session. You got us, Jerry? Again, this is the November 13th, 2012 Fairfield Town Plan and Zoning Commission meeting. We're going to public hearing. 2 items on the agenda tonight for public hearing. First is 2226 Black Rock Turnpike, special permit application of Clearview Holding LLC and Cleban Clearview LLC pertaining to additions and alterations to an existing building in a designed commercial district, followed by 428 to 448 Old Stratfield Road, special permit application of MG Flynn Contracting Incorporated pertaining to construction of a new mixed-use commercial residential building in a neighborhood design district. We'll take those in that order. For the members of the public, the applicants go first with their presentation. Following the presentation, we go to public hearing, when any member of the public could comment on the application one at a time. If any member of the public has any question, they don't pose it to the applicant, you can ask the commission, and we can ask the applicant in due course. Following the conclusion of public comment, we go back to the applicant for any final comments, at which time we will close the hearing and vote at a subsequent meeting. With that being said, we're going to begin tonight with 2226 Black Rock Turnpike. Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, for the record, my name is Bill Fitzpatrick. I'm an attorney in Fairfield with the law firm of Fitzpatrick, Frey, and Bologna. We have offices at 1150 Post Road. I'm here this evening representing Clearview Holding LLC and Cleveland Clearview LLC, the owners of the premises located at 2226 Black Rock Turnpike. The two property owners are made up of the members of the Roberts and Cleveland families, respectively. The Roberts family has long been active in commercial real estate in Fairfield, particularly in the Black Rock Turnpike area, and the Cleveland family has a lengthy history of being active participants in the town of Fairfield commercial real estate market. These individuals are known particularly for the attention paid to the maintenance and appearance of their properties, and I think they possess a demonstrated pride of ownership. The property in question is formerly the site of the Fairfield pool business. There are also other tenants in that building. This is a two-story building containing 13,876 square feet. The property itself is located in the Design Commercial District. It contains 28,113 square feet, or about two-thirds of an acre. Among the uses permitted in the Design Commercial District, as the Commission is well aware, are medical offices, retail uses, restaurants, and banks. The intent of the applicants here is to renovate the existing building, update its appearance, and introduce a new tenant mix. The renovation of the building includes the removal of the second story of the building and a reconfiguration of the first floor. It is anticipated that the Bank of Fairfield, which is presently a tenant in the Lake Hill Shopping Center directly behind, or to the east, if you will, of this site, will relocate to this renovated building. The Bank of Fairfield will occupy one of the two tenant spaces being created in the front of the building, facing Black Rock Turnpike. The Bank of Fairfield space would include a small first-floor addition on the southerly side of the building, some 1,100 square feet, to accommodate a drive-through window. The applicants also anticipate the left-hand side of the front of the building, the northerly portion, will be occupied by a restaurant. The first floor is proposed also to include a small retail space to the left rear, facing from the street. That's the easterly corner. And the existing dentistry office will remain as present at the rear of the building. As I stated earlier, the existing two-story building contains 13,876 square feet. The removal of the second floor, the construction of the small bank addition results in a renovated first floor size of 8,000 square feet. The result is something I'm not generally bringing before this commission. It's a reduction in both the height of the building and a reduction in the size of the building from 13,800 to 8,000, a reduction of about 42% square footage. The present access to this lot from Black Rock Turnpike is via a two-way access. That existing two-way curb cut will be eliminated, with access being provided to the site through an existing Black Rock Turnpike curb cut directly to the north of the property. That driveway is proposed to be changed to a one-way direction, thereby improving traffic circulation on site.
So it's this driveway behind you, so this driveway we can see right here. Is that the one you're talking about? It's now going to be an entrance only?
Yes,
And the one on the other side, which you can't quite see?
will be closed, eliminated. In addition, this property will be connected internally to the Lake Hill Shopping Center, which borders the property on both the north and the east. That's the rear and left-hand side viewing from the street. This shared access conforms to the recommendation of the Commission as set forth in Section 28.9 of the regulations. There will be an easement between the two property owners, which, while they're composed of the same families, are separate and distinct owners. I would like to submit a copy of that easement for the record, Mr. Chairman.
These are copies of these, right?
easement area is the specific parking along the northerly side of the building, the left-hand side, right here. Left-hand side of the building as you look from the street. With that easement in place, the on-site parking, as well as the available adjacent parking, calculated under your regulations, satisfies the required parking of 48 spaces for the renovated building. The presentation we will make to the Commission tonight will consist of Mr. Walter Jobst, who will describe the site, Mr. Jack Franzen, who will discuss the proposed building renovations, Mr. Michael Galante, who will discuss traffic, and I will then conclude and address the specific zoning regulations which pertain. At this point, I'd like to introduce Mr. Walter Jobst, a professional engineer and registered land surveyor with the Huntington Company, to discuss the site.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Walter Jobst. I'm a licensed professional engineer and land surveyor in the state of Connecticut, employed by the Huntington Company, which has offices in Fairfield. Presently, we have a 13,876 two-story, square foot two-story building. We have 30 parking spaces. We have an entrance and exit at our southwest corner, and we're closed off from the surrounding parking areas.
Could you just orient the commission on this map, what the adjoining properties are, you know, what's in this, what's right there, and, you know, what's the different drawing you want to do? Please.
Here's a composite of our parcel and the Lake Hills parcel. We have Penny Diner here. We have bank here at the corner of Stilson, Black Turnpike. We will be removing the second floor. We will be adding maybe you can see this a little bit better. Removing the entire second floor, we'll be adding a 1,100 square foot addition. We will be eliminating this in and out curb cut. Our site access then will be moved to a one-way entrance at the north, a two-way entrance at the southeast, and a one-way exit at the northeast. We will increase the number of parking spaces on site from 30 to 33. We will, by granting of an easement, which I believe has already been granted and filed in the town clerk's office, we will be using 15 parking spaces to the north of our building from the Lake Hills site. The Lake Hills property has created additional parking spaces to the rear of the building, directly to the east of our building. A couple spaces scattered around here where Panera Bread is going, and they will have a net increase of 15 parking spaces, so that we can use those 15 spaces by easement to comply with the 48 spaces that required for our site. Presently, we have a storm drainage system on site. We have 3 catch basins here, here, and here. Connects into a drainage system which passes through our site. We will be relocating the catch basin here to this corner, relaying this pipe because of the conflict with the proposed addition. The remainder of the existing storm drainage will remain the same, except for the addition of a stormwater quality unit, which we will install at the last catch basin before we tie into the existing drainage system. That will provide for cleansing and renovation of stormwater runoff. Presently, there are no measures on site to do that. Other than that, the drainage will continue to function as it presently does.
Mr. Jobs, could you look at sheet 3 of 4, it's E58, 583A? Do you have that one? This one, yeah. Could you just explain to the Commissioner, are you reconfiguring this entire parking lot, including this, whatever this is right in here? That's not there right now, is it?
This will remain as it is. That is there. We are restriping and reconfiguring some of the handicap spaces and parking stalls along here. We're adding some curbing on the ends of these two, and some curbing here, and getting an additional 3 spaces to better orient traffic flow through this area. It's kind of a mishmash right now.
And what's the thought over here, this portion of the lot right here, specifically being on the easterly boundary of keeping what is over here? There's some type of a barrier, I assume.
Presently, there's a fence and a guide rail, I believe.
Is that going to remain there, and is there
Those will be
the reason why?
eliminated. There's 4 existing spaces here on the Lake Hills property. There's 1 space existing on our piece. Those will be eliminated to get access in and out at this point.
Well, could one also drive, if I were to come in from Stilson, can I just, drive in here and drive right through?
No, there'll be a curb between these spaces here.
Is there
new one.
what would the reason be for the curb, so one can't just have more of an open flow like a normal parking lot?
Pardon me?
Why is there a curb in the middle of the parking lot?
Well, I believe there's a curb there now.
Right, it is. It's very.
Well, I know it is now. Is it because it's 2 parcels? Is that why you're maintaining, or is there a design reason that you need to have?
Well,
a curb right there?
it's existing, and there are 2 separate parcels.
Question.
Commissioner Soutar?
Yeah, so the only exits from the parking area after you come in off Black Rock Turnpike are the 2-way exit at the far right and the single exit at the far left.
That's correct.
And you feel that will be adequate for the traffic flow?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, on the drive-through, where do you anticipate that the drive-through teller would exit? Back into the parking lot or into the 2-way?
The drive-through is located, the canopy is located right here.
And how do you?
And that, you'll come in, queue up here, and then when you're finished, you'll go to the east and either take a right and go out here, or take a left and go out here, depending if you're going north or south on Black Rock Turnpike, or if you have other business within Lake Hills.
So, Mr. Jobs, in other words, basically it's internal to the parking lot. You're going to, either way, you're going to have to, when you go through the drive-through teller, you'll still be in the parking lot. You're not going to be exiting into traffic or something directly. Right.
No. You'll have
The site within a parking lot.
through aisle here, parking aisle here, and an exiting aisle here. And the rest of the traffic will be divorced from that by curbing or whatever.
So this is a building that is 1 story lower, 42% smaller. Through easement and an increase in parking spaces, will meet our requirements. We'll
Correct.
keep the existing dentist's office. We'll simply relocating a bank and then having a restaurant will be. This is what we'll have.
Essentially, that's it,
We'll
yes.
reduce 1 curb cut.
And we lose this curb cut there, yes.
You don't anticipate any problems with the exiting into the Trader Joe's traffic there?
No. No, we do not.
And I'm sure Mr. Galante could address that as well, to help address the traffic
He's much
flow
smarter than I am.
Thank you, Mr. Jobs.
Thank you, Mr. Jobst. I should emphasize that easement I handed out, you can see it's executed. It's also been recorded on the land records, so it is presently in force. At this point, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to introduce Mr. Jack Franzen, an architect with the well-respected firm of J.P. Franzen Associates of Fairfield. Jack.
Thank you, Bill. I'm Jack Franzen. I'm here tonight to represent
this project at 2226 Black Rock Turnpike. My offices are in Fairfield at 1241 Post Road. As has been stated before, we're proposing to downsize this existing building, which is the former Fairfield Pool Building, and this will become a one-story building. As was explained, there'll be 4 tenants. There'll be one tenant, which is the existing dentistry tenant of about 2,500 square feet. The bank that's moving closer to the Post Road into an improved location, about 2,400 square feet. The restaurant, which has a gross area of 2,000 square feet and a small retail space of 575, the balance being core interior to the building. I'm going to show an animation later which will explain the exterior probably better than either this rendering or what I'm going to say. But the proposed new roof line in the exterior we feel is going to bring the building more into scale with other buildings on Black Rock Turnpike, especially those that sit close to the road like Penny's Diner and what have you. And there's always been a perceived problem of just visibility because of the scale of this building, which actually ironically hides one of the future tenants somewhat. Although this will improve visibility behind Fairfield Pool, the building envelope's going to remain essentially the same, the footprint. However, there will be this addition that Bill described, about 1,100 square feet on the east side of the building. That'll be for the bank tenant. We are taking the building, as was said, from 13,876 square feet to 8,000 square feet. And what that represents is the elimination of the second floor, but then the addition of the 1,100 square feet on the first floor on the east side. The architecture of the new exterior will be colonial revival style, and what we're trying to do is emulate sort of what we did at the Citibank building on the other end of Black Rock Turnpike. The exterior elements are very simple. They'll be brick, and I do have a sample of the brick, which I can pass around. It's this lighter color side that you should look at. And the millwork elements will be made out of cellular PVC, which is a non-rotting material that we're now using for trim and columns and fascias, etc. The glazing will be upgraded. It'll be energy efficient thermopane. The roofing will be a white solar reflective membrane. The appearance of the new exterior will, like I said, it'll emulate other projects we've done in Fairfield, not the least of which is the Citibank building. There will be a covered pedestrian access on this side of the building, on the west side, and in front of the bank. Also a canopy over the drive-through, and you'll see that in the animation. In terms of improvements on the site, we are proposing to have tree wells put in. There'll be 7 trees. Here, and this is an existing street tree that we're going to keep. That tree you see as you drive by now. That's on the southeast corner. There'll also be mixed shrubs going around in the beds and grass. So there will be new landscaping proposed. There'll be some site lighting. The site lighting consists of pole lights. There are going to be 4 pole lights, which are this type of light here. There's one here, one here, one here, and one here. And I believe there are 3 wall lights on the new building on the east side. But on the west side, there'll be recessed lights that'll be under that canopy.
Does it be dark sky lighting?
Excuse me?
Dark sky lighting?
Yes. The dumpster area is actually behind the shopping center. That's where it is now. But it's big enough that it'll accommodate whatever recycling requirements we have.
To reiterate what Walt said about the parking, we're increasing the parking by a net of 15 spaces. And I hope that you agree with me that this smaller, more in-scale building is going to really improve Black Rock Turnpike, and that you'll approve this project. And now I'm going to attempt with some trepidation to show you this animation. You might want to spin around.
Mr. Franzen, is your animation going to depict the utilities on the roof, how you're shielding them from the street?
Yes, it will show that, yeah. There is some music with this.
Just like that.
You want me to do
You
that
can play again.
Because I don't want to be on,
Click cancel at the bottom right.
I'll run it one more time.
If anyone wants to pause at any point, just let them know.
That's the second floor.
Just like that. Magic.
How about right there?
Did you pause for a second? Did you pause?
There's the rooftop mechanicals there.
Is that so you can see the rooftop mechanicals?
Well, this is actually shot from a higher elevation. If you look at the beginning where you're on the ground, the way those units are set back from the railing, you can't see them. But if you wanted us to increase the density of that railing, we'd be happy to do that. But I think if you want to look from the beginning again, I'll run it one more time.
And hold on, before you do that, if you could do that, in the back, do you have mechanicals for the restaurant? You indicated you're going to have a restaurant, so you're going to need to have ductwork, I would assume,
Yes.
for the foods. Is that shown on the drawing? We just can't see it?
I think that probably would be up on the roof too.
Would the mechanicals necessary for a restaurant use extend higher, number one, than the railings, and number two, in such a way that you'd be able to see them? Or would they still, because of the elevation and the location, we wouldn't see them from ground
I
level?
think they'd be very hard to see.
Maybe could you back up to the beginning then? And we can see the...
There's your eye level.
Nicely.
Lattice work. I don't want to.
You're right. No, no.
So by the time you get to the end, you're back,
Right.
it's sort of a helicopter view.
Two questions.
Yes,
The dumpster is behind the shopping center or behind this building?
it's behind the shopping center.
Is that going to pose a problem for the restaurant?
I think not. I think they'll be able to cart it back there. It's not a very big restaurant.
It could be a condition of our approval that the dumpster remain there, so if someone were to add it, decide to put one in the parking lot, it'd be a zoning violation.
They're bringing garbage all the way around the building and everything. Oh, another question. On that drive up, how many cars will be online for a drive up before you block the front entrance? Any idea?
Michael, explain that.
Does the design include any bike racks or anything like that?
Yes, I forgot to mention about the bike rack. It's back in this planting bed here on the northwest. I apologize. I'm on the Fairfield Bike Commission, I forgot to mention the bike rack.
I saw
You make me
that.
very happy if you have outdoor dining.
Unless you're putting plutonium in this bank, I don't know. This is super good.
Does anyone have any other questions for Mr. Franson? Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Mr. Chairman, at this point, I'd like to introduce Mr. Michael Galante, Frederick P. Clark Associates, to address his traffic study findings. Michael.
The restaurant's going to be That's first.
Do we have a copy of that for the record? We have a copy of that yet for the record?
We have a copy of what you just showed us.
Mr. Franson, or Mr. Fitzpatrick, when you have a chance, could you just submit to the record a copy of that DVD, or burn a copy of that, so we can have that for the record, please? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Galante.
Good evening, Mike Galante, Frederick Clark Associates, traffic consultant. Our offices are here in Fairfield. I have a lot of boards, but I'm going to kind of condense this to really the points. We prepared a traffic study for an 8,000 square foot building that is today 13,800 square feet. So we have a larger traffic study than you would expect because as part of this development, and this is figure 13 from my report just for reference purposes, the existing driveway to the existing building will be closed. That's a two-way driveway eliminated. That's a benefit. The existing driveway next to it, let's call it northbound, if you will, going towards the parkway, today a two-way driveway, two-lane, two-way driveway converted to an entrance only. No exiting traffic, that's a benefit. The building will be smaller, as I said, from 13,800 square feet to about 800 square feet, 8,000 square feet. All access is internal, and there's internal connections to the existing shopping center. A benefit.
Does the DOT need to sign off, or have they signed off?
Because we are connecting to an existing shopping center, and it has more than 200 parking spaces, it kicks in the next process, which was formerly the STC, State Traffic Commission, which no longer exists as of July 1st. It's now the Office of Traffic Administration, Office of State Traffic Administration, OSTA. That triggers an entire different process. Therefore, my traffic study addresses 9 intersections, which include 3 traffic signals along Black Rock Turnpike, each of the driveways to the Lake Hill Shopping Center, which in turn includes this building, which is now 8,000 square feet. So we're going through an entire process, and we're going through that process with the state. It includes drainage, site plan, traffic, and approval. In this case, it would be an administrative decision, which is the first step of an approval. If there was mitigation on a state highway, we'd have a full certificate. They have all new procedures. So that's why this report looks like this for 8,000 square feet. We did the typical thing. We analyzed and counted weekday morning, weekday afternoon, and Saturday. We identified the peak hour volumes on all the roads at each of the driveways. Black Rock Turnpike, 1,800 vehicles during the peak hour. Stilson Road, about 800 cars during the peak hour. Shopping center volumes. This building, if it was fully occupied, not with a Fairfield pool type of use in it, but a retail use, in all fairness, it would generate 25 to 45 trips. That includes the dentist that's there and staying. The new use, which is a restaurant, a bank, and some remaining retail space, would generate in the range of 15 to 45 trips. That's what we believe are the real numbers based on what the bank is actually generating today with customers and so on at its facility. The analysis that we put in here for you and the state is based on anywhere from 45 to 80 trips in the peak hour. So it's a much higher number, much more conservative. The reason is bank reality is a much lower number than what the book says. The book and that the state uses and traffic engineers use is still using numbers where we all go to the bank on Friday to cash our check. That doesn't happen anymore. We all have direct deposit. We use ATM machines. The activities at banks have dropped significantly. But we use the higher numbers to be conservative in our analysis. We looked at accidents, which I think, and I'll just touch on this quickly, but we counted all the traffic at each of the driveways, different time periods. This is figure 4 from the report. We did the machine counts on Black Rock Turnpike. We showed the hourly and daily volume, 23,000 vehicles on Black Rock Turnpike in a day. about 1,800 in the peak hour. If we looked at accidents, which is important to all of us, and if you look at the accident data for Black Rock Turnpike along the, let's call it from Fairfield Woods Road to Brookside, to that whole stretch, well, actually from Fairfield Woods Road to Stilson, there were 38 accidents on that stretch of road in a 3-year period. If you look at the data, about 2/3 of those accidents are related to the driveways. There are a multitude of driveways along that stretch of road, whether it's the diner, a bank, Chase, or whatever, the Gaps driveway, Duchess, and so on. Our goal is to eliminate driveways where we can. That's what our goal's been for quite a while on Black Rock Turnpike, as you know. So we're closing a driveway toward an existing building. That's one driveway eliminated completely. The existing driveway next to it, which is two-way today, becomes an entrance only. So we eliminate those exiting movements. By the internal circulation, internal connection to the shopping center, we now have access to Stilson Road directly from this parcel and the other driveways within the site itself. Our traffic study includes the Panera Bread, putting that traffic back in, because it was occupied as the old restaurant at one point, vacant at the next point. We put 56 trips back in during the peak hour just to be conservative for that use in the future. And I won't touch on the details of this, but we did all the capacity analyses. This is this famous chart that is table 6 in the report. It basically shows a before and after condition. We believe, yes.
Commissioner Leslie has a question.
Yes.
The bank is already in the shopping center now,
Yes.
right? And the parking lot's already there now. There's a parking lot there.
For the existing building?
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're taking away half the building. And we're taking,
Approximately half.
And we're taking away a driveway.
Yes.
Not that I don't like you, but why are you here?
Why am I here? Because I just like coming out on Tuesday nights. I have nothing on the agenda in the other two towns I normally go to. I'm almost finished. Well, that hurt.
I said I'd like to see you.
I'm done. There is really insignificant
on the next
impact.
application, too, so.
I didn't want to say that. Honestly, we have to go through this process for the state. I've given you a report that touches on everything. Because we tie into the shopping center, we do a full-blown traffic study. There are many benefits to this: eliminating a driveway, reducing conflicts at the second driveway, internal connection to a smaller building. I was really going to just stay with that, but I thought I might insult you by just saying that and sitting down.
No, that's okay.
Besides, we made all the boards. So that's my presentation.
How many cars more do you expect to go out on Stilson Road?
On Stilson,
Yeah.
depending on the peak hour, 10 to 20 vehicles.
In addition to what's...
Well, today, don't forget, there is no access from this parcel to Stilson directly. So when we had the internal connection, we take that 10 or 20 cars off of Black Rock Turnpike in one of those driveways, put it on the side. So if you're going towards Post Road, if you will, or Fairfield University, you would come out on Stilson, use the traffic signal, and continue straight. Instead of making a left turn out of the driveway into Black Rock, that's where you find your accidents.
They would have any
Queuing for
additional...
the drive-through, thank you. There was a question or a comment about the drive-through for the bank,
Yeah.
which is important.
Yeah, how many cars?
We estimate that this drive-through will it accommodates six or so vehicles before it starts touching on the driveway to Black Rock Turnpike. If you look at the anticipated traffic using drive-through, it's about 25% of the business of the bank. It's anywhere from 3 to 10 vehicles in a 1-hour period. 10 vehicles, which is the maximum number, over a 60-minute period. It's not going to back up. Now, that's on average conditions during
So
1
it's
hour.
6 cars before you hit that turn?
Before you hit the
block
turn,
that one.
before you hit the turn and towards the sidewalk on Black Rock Turnpike. So we believe we have sufficient space to provide queuing internally. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Galante.
Thank you, Michael. Mr. Chairman, I'd now like to conclude. Please note there's no inland wetland approval necessary, and that there are no wetlands or watercourses on site, no regulated area in which regulated activities are being proposed. We're actually improving stormwater quality, and the installations Mr. Jobs pointed out of the water quality unit. We appeared before code, addressed the relevant concerns expressed in code. I'd like to go through the relevant regulatory requirements for a special permit set forth in 25.7 of your regulations. 25.7.1 is satisfied inasmuch as the proposed uses, restaurant, retail, bank, including a drive-through, are permitted uses in the design commercial zone. 7.2, 7.3, and 7.4 have all been complied with by virtue of the submission of appropriate site engineering and architectural plans. 25.7.5 is irrelevant inasmuch as it pertains to non-conforming properties. This property is conforming. 25.6 pertains to landscaping. It's been addressed by the inclusion of landscaping as outlined by Mr. Franzen. If I bypass 25.7.7 for a second, 25.7.8 is addressed, is satisfied here for the existing commercial use is consistent with the recognition as set forth in the Town Plan of Conservation and Development that Black Rock Turnpike is a substantial commercial development area. To return to 25.7.7, first, that section states the property must be of such a character as to harmonize with the neighborhood. The neighborhood here is Black Rock Turnpike, an area zoned specifically for commercial development. The proposal here includes the relocation of a bank which is presently located in the shopping center to the rear. Certainly such a bank use on the same site harmonizes with the neighborhood. You should also note that drive-through banks such as that proposed here are found up and down Black Rock Turnpike, as are other commercial drive-through uses such as the Duchess and McDonald's. Existing drive-throughs on Black Rock Turnpike include Bank of America, Chase, Citibank, First Niagara, Peoples, and TD. I think it's clear that a drive-through is a necessary component for a bank branch in order to be fully competitive in the marketplace. The drive-through here gives the Bank of Fairfield, a community bank with a local board of directors, a chance to compete on the same playing field as the large banks. 25.7.7 references the protection of property values. Since there's essentially no change in the commercial use of the premises other than a change from one commercial use to another, and the property is bordered on all sides by existing commercial uses plus the street. Certainly there can be no negative impact on adjoining property values. 25.7.7 speaks to avoiding undue traffic congestion. The first issue relative to traffic congestion is on-site traffic congestion. The testimony of Michael Galante, as you've heard, is that the on-site traffic will operate safely. The second issue pertains to existing traffic on Black Rock Turnpike. There's a line of Connecticut cases that holds, and I quote, "The designation of a particular use of property as a permitted use establishes a conclusive presumption that such use does not adversely affect the district and precludes further impact into its effect on traffic." That's the TLC development case, 215 Connecticut 527, a 1990 Connecticut Supreme Court case, and So and Associates, a 23 Connecticut Appellate 370 case, a 1990 case. Here the applicant cannot be held responsible for the existing traffic on Black Rock Turnpike. The fact of the matter is that the traffic study, even with the extremely conservative assumptions as confirmed by Mr. Galante, concludes that as a result of the changes in use, there will be no reduction in level of service at any of the relevant intersections. And by my analysis, a no reduction in level of service cannot be deemed to be the creation of undue traffic congestion. I should note that the proposed tenant mix here is a concern of the property owners. They go to great lengths to ensure the mix will be successful. For instance, it's likely that the proposed use of the restaurant will be busiest in the evening when the bank is closed. Relative to the bank, and by way of disclosure, I am a member of the board of directors. I think the Bank of Fairfield has been a valuable addition to the town banking community. They have an office here, as you know, in the Lake Hill Shopping Center, as well as one at 2150 Post Road. As a community bank, they're designed to service customers who are simply too small for the big banks to spend time on. The bank's been growing, and obviously we believe the move to this site will improve visibility, and the addition of a drive-through it will be very helpful. That drive-through permits mothers and fathers with small children, infants, people with disabilities, elderly citizens, to make a deposit, as well as those who prefer the security of not leaving their car for a bank transaction. And approval basically permits this bank the opportunity to compete on an equal playing field with other banks on Black Rock Turnpike who have drive-throughs. I think the removal of the second floor, as well as the design drawn by Jack Franzen's office and the style of the Citibank building to the south, constitutes a significant aesthetic upgrade to this site. I believe the application complies with the zoning regulations. The application accomplishes a number of things that your commission and the zoning regs encourage, including the elimination of a Black Rock Turnpike curb cut and the opening up of the property, permitting access from one property to another, so you can travel from one commercial use to another without going back onto Black Rock Turnpike. Again, it's rare that an application is made to your commission to reduce the size of a building, but in this case, I think it makes good business sense as well as good planning sense. Mr. Roberts and a number of members of his family are here with me, as well as Mr. Cleveland. I would like to introduce Mr. Roberts to the commission for the benefit of those commissioners who don't know Larry. And would you like to say a few words, Mr. Roberts?
Larry Roberts, 71 Richard Place. I think we did a beautiful presentation. We accommodated a lot of the wishes that the commission has asked for over the years, reducing traffic access to Black Rock Turnpike and improving the traffic and improving the aesthetics of this area. So we respectfully request approval of this application. We think it's a fabulous idea, and we're really excited about it. We also have Oh, okay. Okay, thank you very much.
I have nothing further, Mr. Chairman. We'd be happy to answer any more questions the commission may have.
Does any commissioner have any question of the applicant before we go to public comment?
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll open the floor to public comment. Is there any member of the public who wishes to comment on this application? If you do, just come on up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Joseph Benani. I reside at 41 Vesper Street here in Fairfield. I've been a resident here for approximately 30 years. And I've seen what the developer has done with Black Rock Turnpike over the years. I know for one thing that the ShopRite Plaza has been renovated approximately 3 times since I lived here, and that the property owners reside in town and take a lot of pride in these properties. With regard to this particular property, as you can see, I mean, the existing building is outdated as far as style is concerned. And I happen to frequent this shopping center at least 3 or 4 times a week. And there is a rapid turnover of parking spaces near the Chase Bank. I would go in, usually use the double row of parking spaces to the left of the building. Yeah, for the most part, when I get there, it would be about 75% full, and by the time I leave, there's probably only a third of the cars there by the time I leave. I usually enter from this entrance here, and I think that's the safest way to enter into the property. And I always exit on Stilson Road because there's the traffic light at Black Rock and Stilson. Makes a safe exit out of the property. So I would approve it. I mean, look, it's a beautiful building. I think if it was any other developer, they'd try to put another story on and try to reduce the amount of parking spaces. So I think it's good for Black Rock Turnpike. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez.
Good evening. My name is Heidi DeWingert, and I'm an executive vice president with the bank. And really, I'm just here to tell you that the Bank of Fairfield is a community bank. Currently, we support over 24 charities in town, and we've enjoyed our 4 years here in Fairfield. We're excited about the potential to move our existing facility forward. As everyone has said, it gives us much better visibility, and the drive-through makes us much more competitive. Based on our experience on the Post Road further down in Fairfield, we expect an average of about 11 cars a day. It's really minimal, but it's that extra community, being able to facilitate the seniors and the young parents more convenient. So I really appreciate your consideration on our behalf.
Thank you, Mr. Winger. Is there any other member of the public who wishes to address the commission? Hearing none, Mr. Fitzpatrick?
I have nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Therefore, I will close the public hearing on this application, 2226 Black Rock Turnpike. Next item on the agenda this evening, the public hearing, 428 448 Old Stratfield Road, special permit application of M. Contractors Incorporated pertaining to construction of a new mixed-use commercial residential building in the neighborhood design district. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, staff, members of the public. My name is Joel Green. I practice law in Bridgeport with the law offices of Green and Gross at 1087 Broad Street. It's my pleasure to appear before you this evening on behalf of the applicant, M.G. Flynn Contracting, Inc., with respect to its application for a special permit pursuant to Section 25 of your regulations on the agenda this evening. With me tonight are Peter Cummings of Peter Cummings Incorporated, who will talk about the site layout and design, a bit about the site plan, and Michael Galante of Frederick P. Clark Associates, who will highlight the traffic study that's been provided to the commission as part of this project. As the application indicates, M.G. Flynn proposes to demolish an two existing structures on the property. One is a one-story office building on the premises at 428 Old Stratfield Road, and the other structure is a two-story residential wood building containing 4 units at 446 and 448 Old Stratfield Road. Each of these properties are owned by AEL Real Estate Group. Each of the buildings are somewhat obsolete and somewhat outdated if you're familiar with them. The property, subject property, is located in a neighborhood design business district. Now, just by way of brief history, this applicant had previously been before the commission and had proposed duplex housing, 3 duplex structures on the at 428, 446, and 448 Old Stratfield Road. That application was denied by this commission. And in denying it, some of the comments that this commission had made related to the commission's desire to see more of a mixed-use development on this site, which is transitional to some degree, although it is, again, in a neighborhood design business district. That idea that was communicated by the commission was obviously taken seriously by this applicant, and after a collaborative effort with zoning staff and an assessment of housing needs and opportunities in this community, a review of the local market in this community, the applicant seeks a special permit this evening pursuant to Section 25 to construct a 2-story building which combines commercial office on the lower level and a residential component with on-site parking. The existing commercial building on the site is a 1-story brick building. It has 1,680 square feet of commercial office space. It's a low brick building. About the best I can say is it's not a very attractive structure, and it's, again, somewhat outdated. The existing 2-story residential building contains 4 dwelling units and has a total gross area of 4,325 square feet and living area of just over 2,000 feet. It's the applicant's plan to demolish both of the buildings and replace them with a new structure that has just over 11,000 feet total. It would consist of a total of 3,729, or just over 3,700 square feet of commercial office space on the first floor, and 6 two-story townhouse-style dwelling units on the second and third floors containing a total of 7,350 square feet. So each of the residential units would have just over 1,200 square feet. 2/3 of the building would be used accordingly for residential purposes, 2/3 of the square footage.
You're going to go under 12.5.6 and designate them as affordable, so you can avoid the 50%.
2 of the units will be affordable.
And then could you just discuss that with the commission? This is not an 830G application.
No, it is
You're
not.
under our neighborhood design.
No, it isn't. This is
12.56, which allows
Correct.
you to have an increase in residential in a neighborhood design district if you would contract with the town, I believe.
There is there are standards, and there's a contract with the town that the units have to be meet the affordable housing regulations.
So how are you contracting with the town? Procedurally, how does that work?
As I understand it, once we are approved by this commission, conditioned on that, as I understand it, there's an application process to the town with the approval of this commission. And the town, as I understand it, oversees, I believe there's an annual report, and there's an application and a reporting requirement with the town on affordable. And again, 2 of the units would be affordable housing as defined in 31.2.3 of the regulations. So again, 2 of them would have to meet the calculation for affordable housing pursuant to the regulation. The other 4 would be rented at market rent.
Commissioner Baratz?
I know you said this already, Mr. Gannon, I just want to clarify. How many residential units are there today on the existing properties?
There's a building that's 2 stories that has 4 units in it.
Okay, so there's 4 units, 2-story
Correct.
building with 4 units, okay. Thank you.
And the number of commercial tenants proposed?
2 units? I'm sorry, I'm corrected. There's presently 2 family, okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Apparently there are 2 existing units on the site.
Each unit is 1 family?
Each unit is 1 family.
And the square footage approximately? Square footage of the existing building?
The existing building has, I guess the gross floor area, according to the assessor's records, is 4,300 square feet.
Just to be clear, which building are you talking about?
The 2-story residential building is
Known as 446, 448?
Yes. Is 4,325 square feet.
And how big is the number 428
sorry?
right now, the office square footage question?
The square footage of the office is 1,680.
So
it's about
so it's 6,000 to 1,100.
6,000 feet, you're going up
It's
proposing.
1,100. Well, it's 11,000.
11,000.
11,079.
That's correct.
11,001.
Total from about 6,000
Yeah.
to about 11,000.
That is correct.
And how many in the proposed, how many commercial in the ground floor?
Well, it's not necessarily divided. Three offices, and maybe, I believe they could be combined.
It looks like 3.
Do they have to be 3 offices?
So 1,700 office.
All right, so at present, there are 3 offices designed on the ground floor of the structure.
So 7,300 in residential and the remaining in office.
7,350 in residential,
And then the remainder of the 11,000 being offices.
3,729 in office, correct. And just as the chairman had indicated, pursuant to section 12.5.6 of the regulations, residential uses may occupy up to 2/3, 66 2/3 of the total area of the building, provided that those units in excess of 50% are formally dedicated to affordable housing, as defined in 31.2.3. The commercial office space located on the first floor will be dedicated to those uses, to offices permitted under 12.5.2 of the regulations in a neighborhood design business district, and will primarily provide service to customers and clients on the premises. The site will be appropriately graded and landscaped, and
Mr. Cummings will speak about that in a moment. And actually, I think at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Peter to describe the project in greater detail.
Mr. Chairman of the Commission, my name is Peter Cummings, the designer of the project. My office is in Fairfield. When we originally started this project almost 3 years ago, the first thing we did is we worked with the staff, our zoning staff, and some of the iterations we went through, really the main focus was we didn't want to look for a variance for any aspect of it. The only thing said to us that we would need a special permit for the project. In trying to nuzzle everything in so it looked like it belonged, the first thing we did when we sited the project, we actually took a 5-foot cut and grade through the 3 parcels of land, because that is what we're combining, just for the protection of the yards in the back. By lowering and getting a flat, level playing field, we were able just to bring down the overall exposure of the building by 5 feet. The building currently is right under 30 feet, which is in the zoning requirements.
What building? The existing building?
The proposed building. One of the main goals was parking.
Mr. Wagner has a question on the height.
So the height then is just under 30 from the ground level?
From the average proposed grade to the top of the roof.
Got it. So you've put 5 feet basically below grade?
No, we cut 5 feet of grade. The building's going to be built on slab.
We're
starting in
you reduced the elevation on the lot. You
Yes.
leveled and reduced the elevation on the
Correct.
lot by 5 feet.
For several reasons. One, we were able to, for the homes in the back, to bring the overall height of the building down. 2, the parking in the back, we were able to, so when the people are looking out, it's just it's less cars, as you can see in some of the renderings as you're on the side and the back. We're trying to disguise and hide a lot of, you don't want to see a lot of cars.
Well, cutting the grade didn't reduce the height of the building. I mean, but you're saying from the vantage point of the neighbors in the back, it's not doesn't appear to be as high. Am I getting that?
No. Let me explain it this way. If we left the hill as it comes down, when we put the building on top, we're still going to be at the average grade. So the height of the building, we're still going to be at the same point. But by cutting the grade and dropping the entire building 5 feet, we're still at the same height of the building, but we've reduced the overall height because we cut the grade. We need like a whiteboard here.
So there's
less visible structure to the neighbors on the back.
Because the way you reduce the height of a building is you move the roof down. You take a story out. You didn't reduce the height of the building. You just lowered
what I'm
the
trying to say
lot.
is we brought the overall height of the building down in the lot itself. Better explanation, maybe. Part of that, in getting that down, the other thing is parking became a large issue. We actually reduced the building 1,500 square feet from the original proposed after working with staff and making it, part of the caveats that we went through is to really get the parking to work. So we actually reduced the size of the building 1,500 square feet from where we could have been at. Also, the math formula to make the affordable housing work and really became a math game. I think staff, a lot of numbers being calculated to make sure that we're adhering to all of the requirements. The rest of the lot, because it's nuzzled in now, because we cut the grade, we are also able, one of the concerns is always drainage. Right now, there's probably a lot of sheet runoff on that parcel of land. I drive by a lot of the sites that I'm involved with, and you pick a 50-year storm, it's probably going to have a lot of runoff right now as it is. So one of our goals is the requirement is by the town, we have to control the first 2 inches of a 50-year storm. So the galleries have been in place, it's been engineered to handle that, and then we tied into the storm drain out front. We did have a meeting with all staff, engineering, zoning, building, who also did critique the building, which in that process, just some other little tweaks from that. But the overall goal of the building was really to nuzzle it, get a large planting in front, kind of get it to give it that kind of feel, we want to add the street lamps, get the sidewalk in front, going in front of the building, because part of this whole plan is hopefully, people always talk about traffic, but if we're really adhering to the mixed use, would be to have somebody, there's so many home offices now, that somebody doesn't really have to have their home office, they can actually have it around the corner from their house. And that is the charm of the mixed use, is that now they can walk to their office, and depending on what kind of business it is, other people are going to be able to walk through it as well. In this whole process, I will throw out one local business did look at me and says, "Gosh, when will this be done? Because I'd like to rent it, put my office underneath, and just cut my driving bill in half." So that's some of my feedback is from people who have seen it. Are there any questions?
Commissioner Lessie?
First of all, on your parking lot drawing, you're showing the building to the wall 12 inches, not 12 feet, I think it was supposed to be.
Where are we? That is a typo. It should be 12 feet. And it is 12 feet.
9 inches, 9 feet, I assume.
Yeah.
Which drawing are you looking at for the record, please?
Right here, that is a typo.
A8.
When you designed this building, correct?
Yes, correct.
Did you look around the surrounding areas?
I did. I know that there's a building on the corner for sale. I see some other uses. One of the thoughts we had when we looked at it was not necessarily the feeling you get in the old brownstones, but more the combination of the old brownstones and cluster homes and row houses, something that could kind of work. This is the material we'd like to use to kind of give each apartment its own house feel. Let's use vinyl siding, but change the color on each one to kind of give it the feel that they're individual.
Well, as far as that goes, I don't mean to interrupt you, because Mr. Green is well aware of a regulation we have, which is 27.4.1, which means I don't know if this building here harmonizes with the area and the surrounding area that this, where you're placing it.
I think that's a great question. When in looking at the whole, every site has its own problems, and when you start going through it and to make things work and nuzzle things in, and you have your drainage and you have parking, and it's a combination of trying to fit it all together and create the package that best works with what we are doing. And one of the goals is to give it. I know in Norwalk, a lot of this style of building is being introduced.
I can understand that, but how many 3-story buildings are there in this area here?
There's
on Old Stratford.
the appearance with the way the building was designed with the brick was really to kind of create the brick to be its skirt board around the building, to kind of downplay it. The change in material from the brick to the different color sidings above, when going by, it kind of has that bit of a foundation feel to it, and then you have your 2 stories above.
How did you decide not to?
In our firm, Mark Andrieri is one of our architects on staff, as well as Jose Miguel, who's our structural engineer. We've been working together for many, many years. So there is representation on all 3 levels.
Commissioner Jacobson? I'm sorry.
Are you done?
I'll come back.
No, if you're not done, I didn't mean to.
I'll wait.
Commissioner
Sure.
Jacobson?
I did go by the site. I've driven by there many times. There's the residences in back of the site are going to be tremendously affected by this building. I mean, have you met with any of the residents? Because they're going to have a view of a parking lot. I mean, are there any screening planned? Have you met with any of them to meet their concern?
To answer your question, I walked around with a member from Jerry's office. We got a lot of signatures. We knocked on a lot of doors.
Jerry who?
Jerry Flynn, who's the president.
Folks, you're going to have your chance. Be quiet, please. Let him talk.
We have submitted a list of the signatures that we got. We didn't get all of them. We have their last 2 emails Joe got at some point. We'll address that. But as far as the screening, one of our goals, we will end up, we'd like to work with the neighbors as far as screening. any project that I've ever been involved with is always to introduce screening and help them and aid them. In this case, we can put the fence up. I think if you did a line of sight with a 4 or 5 foot or even 6 foot fence on the back wall, your line of sight of the parking lot, I think, would just go away, because I don't see it happening. The other thing that we also looked into for the neighbors in the back, there is a parapet wall going around the building. Our HVAC air handlers that are right now located in the middle of the roof, we have the ability that if their line of sight, and they could see it, which from the perspectives of the street view that you're looking at, you cannot see them. We have the ability to actually move those to the back wall so that the parapet wall would hide those completely. So a lot of thought went into just keeping it a very simplistic building.
We don't have a copy of this petition, or who got the signatures? We don't have it.
Was a petition submitted for the record?
When we're done. Just put me in the queue. You got it. Chip, where'd it go? Do you have more questions? I don't want to cut you off.
I did one more.
Okay.
Chairman, members of the commission, there was an effort to reach out to all of the abutters, all of the owners of abutting properties, and I believe that Mr. Flynn of MG Flynn Contracting actually walked the neighborhood. I do have a petition and signed by 3 of the abutting property owners. I don't know whether there was actually contact with the others.
We knocked on doors.
Okay.
Yeah, those 3 signatures, and then there was somebody from, what was the other one? Hope, who had gotten in touch with us.
All right. So we have a petition with 3 signatures that we can submit to the commission just for the record.
Back to the question, though, as far as the lot, I'm just going back to cutting the grade 5 feet, putting everything behind cars that would come up to a back wall, the line of sight from the neighboring yards with a fence. I don't really think you're going to see much of that parking lot, if none.
Commissioner Jacobson, I think you have another question.
One more.
No, we'll go to Commissioner Wagner.
I did stop. The building, there's no other 3-story buildings in that area. I have a hard time picturing how it's going to look. Do you, also I'm concerned about parking. What about off-street? I mean, where are people that are visitors going to park?
We meet the criteria for the building with parking.
Even visitor parking?
And as far as the 3 stories, we are we still meet the criteria of the town for height. So what that area is zoned for, we have designed to the parameters which were set forth by the zoning regulations. Our goal, when we put this whole project together, was to seek no variance for any of it. The only thing we knew after talking with zoning is that we would need a special permit. But everything else, as far as the actual building and property and procedure that we designed under, is set forth right in the Fairfield Town zoning book.
Commissioner Wagner, Baratz, and Alessi, in that order.
Thank you.
And Parker.
Thanks. I just had a couple questions on the follow-up on the lot in the back there. You mentioned a possible fence. Is that anywhere in the...
We did not show the fence, because if I put the fence up, you wouldn't have, some of the visuals wouldn't have been seen, so I kind of pulled shrubs and things away so you could really just see the building itself.
So there's no...
The fence, as far as...
The plan, what you plan to build. You don't plan to put a fence in there right now?
As far as for the approval process, if that's needs to be put down, then by all means, the fence will be part of the approval process, yes.
And so, screening in terms of, I don't know, arborvitaes or some sort of trees or things like that along the back, with respect to the neighbors, have you considered that?
Yeah, that's always a possibility. We love to work with neighbors. I've been developing properties for many, many years, and it's nice to, to work with them to disguise things, to maintain privacy.
Okay. No current plan to do that right now?
If I may just jump in briefly on that. I had discussed with the applicant the requirements of section 25.7.6, which talks about creating buffers between residential, where there's a zone that, where there's a neighborhood design business district, for example, in this case, that meets a residential zone, and a requirement for a buffer at the property line. And that section of your regulations provides that this commission can really adjust those requirements. I would submit that there's not enough ground at the boundary line on the rear line of the property here, but a fence could be a 5-foot fence, as this commission finds is reasonable and appropriate or required indeed, pursuant to 25.7.6, could easily be constructed on this boundary line.
And that's what I was so good. My follow-up to the question about the foliage of the trees is that it doesn't really appear as though we have a lot of space to work with on that back edge there.
On that back edge, there really isn't. That is correct.
But that's a great question. It gets asked a lot in a lot of developments. Generally, working with neighbors, to volunteer, the plantings, multi-stem dark American arborvitaes, which is a wonderful year-round screen that grows fast and becomes a great dense hedge, is to work with the neighbors. If that's something they're just, what can we do? Well, they shouldn't have to go out and pay, so we always try and aid and assist.
Have you built this building in some form before? In another...
The essence of this building, I can tell you can go down in Norwalk right now, and there's several different versions of it that are starting to pop up.
Well, that's
my take.
I'm asking about
I haven't built this building,
your experience.
No.
Right. Okay.
I've done a lot of commercial buildings. I haven't built this one.
Okay.
But I wish I could say I did, and it's here.
Commercial buildings.
I've done a lot of commercial.
Is this the first residential?
It's a mixed use, so it's both residential.
Right.
I've done a lot of residential as well.
Separately residential, separate commercial, but this is the first mixed use?
In Fairfield, yes.
If you could just turn to the plan, I guess that's the first page, the first one that's...
Labeled site?
Yeah.
It's right here.
Yeah. So on the second slide down, or the first and second one on the street level,
Yes.
there's some street lamps?
Yes.
Are you planning on...
We would like to introduce street lamps because part of the mixed use and people walking up to the office is something to be welcoming, plus for crime and other things.
Sure. So these are the street lamps that you're proposing?
For the purpose of the rendering, a type of street lamp, once again, if that's something that the commission wants to have be submitted for approval, I would work with that.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand the plans that have been submitted and the proposal that you're putting in front of us to decide.
We would like to use an old-style street lamp in front of the building to create the ambiance and also illuminate the area for people walking by and being able to enter into the offices with full site.
Okay. Are there any other sort of lighting plan in the proposal? I didn't find one. I didn't see any.
Landscape lighting, no.
Or on the building itself?
No,
Any lighting whatsoever?
We presented the overall ambiance, the objectives of the building. Generally, once we get that approval, that we go to construction documents for final, for what's going to be done. If the commission needs to make a decision on a exterior lighting plan, that would be submitted.
Because that kind of went also to what I'm trying to understand is going to be the neighbor's view, right, on the back there.
Well, they wouldn't see the street lamps in front because
Not
there'd
the
be a
ones in
building in the
front.
way. And on the other side of the street is a lot, you already have commercial.
Yeah, and now I'm talking about that back lot area. If you were to have lighting.
The back lighting.
In the parking lot, which you probably might want to have.
What we've discussed would be wall sconces washing the driveway. Wall sconces in the wall washing the driveway. Not any lighting going up or going back.
And how much do you estimate that you're going to excavate from the site by removing 5 feet?
The cubic fill was done on the survey that was submitted. I'm good at numbers, but I don't have that one. So if you have your survey plan, because you have to do it, we actually have to identify the amount of fill being brought out.
Just for the record, there was a letter submitted to the commission from Land Surveying Services that had the cut and fill calculations that the zoning department file. I have a copy of it.
You got it there?
Yes.
What's the number?
Well, the total cut is actually only 59 cubic yards, and the fill is 754 cubic yards. So the net is 694 cubic yards of fill.
Thanks. And then the other thing that I didn't see in these plans is any drainage plan.
The drainage is, once again, it's on the site plan, and it's all been designed for rechargers in front to gather the first 2 inches in a 50-year storm, cool it, release it, and then we're tying it right into the storm drain that we work with Public Works. Do we have that plan? Yes, that was
That's the one I keep neglecting.
It's a large plan.
Yeah. So all the runoff from the building is going to be.
It's all controlled runoff.
Yeah.
What about Willoughby?
No, thanks. That was. I think that was my last one.
No, that's why I said sorry.
You're next.
Oh no! I didn't. I have one other thing.
Yeah, I don't mind waiting for
So
you.
the folks in the back, right? You're going to cut 5 feet, so you're going to put the building a little bit lower on the lot, right? Now there are mechanicals on the top, so how are those going to be shielded from view?
The mechanicals on the top,
Yeah.
which I was touching on before, were designed, if you go to your cross-section, and I have a larger one here. So your mechanicals, you have a 2-foot parapet wall around the building.
Yep.
For ease of use for the plenum from the bottom of the HVAC handlers running inside the buildings, it would be great to have them inside. What we've also done, we have the ability, if from their level of their house, which would be probably their second floor, if they could see it, we would actually locate the air handler to the back of the back wall of the building behind the parapet, so that the visibility line sight would then vanish. They would only see the roof itself.
Is that S6?
It would be,
It's
you
a
could
large
see in
drawing.
cross-section B.
I think it's only a large one.
No, I just have this one.
That's S6.
I don't have that.
Do we have that?
Anybody else have that?
We don't have S6. Do we have an S6 for the record?
We will submit this board. Yeah, it's right here.
Wait, which?
And it was done as A7.
A7.
In
Oh.
your board.
See. I guess, I was looking at that tree in the lower right-hand corner, and I don't have that tree on mine.
Yeah, I printed these for large scale, because those are consolidated drawings. These guys are spread out.
Okay. And the mechanical that you were referring to, can you just point that out on yours?
It's right here, the air conditioner condenser.
That's not on our drawing.
It's on your last page. It's here.
A7.
It's on B on A7.
B.
They go right there.
Got it. So it's
And I
just a
also-
different drawing than you're showing.
It is, because I consolidated the drawings on this to make it all fit in this layout. And there's a roof plan layout in here. Sorry about this. On the last page, on A9, you can see we submitted a roof plan layout illustrating where the air condensers are going to go. Those condensers, we would change the framing in the roof to handle the plenum, pull the HVAC units to the back wall so that the parapet wall, except parapet wall, is designed to hide the roof. But now we have the ability to move the condenser back, put it next to the parapet, so once again, there's no visibility from the neighbor's house.
So is that what you are going to do?
We placed them in the center because I don't think there's going to be much of a view at all. If there is, it's always nice to have a design scenario that if somebody says, can you move that, we've already taken it into account.
If I may. I had spoken to Peter about the design, and I had discussed the fact that this commission is always sensitive to the view, the look of the roof, and utilities on the roof, and
The neighbor's
and-
view of those.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's the whole, obviously, the objective. And he readily indicated that the condensing unit could easily be relocated to the back of the structure so that it is fully behind the parapet wall that forms a rim around the entire building and could really not be seen. It's lower than the rim of the parapet, so it could not be seen from behind, except from an extremely high angle behind.
Yeah. What do you think is the viewing angle from the homes that are immediately behind the property?
The first floor isn't going to see anything. The second floor, you would see probably from, if you're back here, see this grade?
Yeah.
I'm going to use your book. If you were to take this book, that's about the pitch. I'm so sorry. That's about the pitch going up on the back.
Of the grade of
So-
the land, right?
Of the land. So now I have a 6-foot fence here.
Which you're going, I'm
Which
still
we-
confused about the fence, but, because I don't see it in the plan. I mean, you're either going to do it or you're not.
We will be providing the fence.
You will, okay, all right.
So now with the fence, if I'm in a house here, I'm not going to see any of this parking lot. And that was one of the things when we designed the building, to take away the essence of a lot of cars parked. It being so high, your first floor and your line of vision of where the house is, you're really just not, it's not a big building. And from the back of this, because we did the cut and grade, this house is really going to have the appearance of a 2-story house from the back because of everything we've done. So they're going to see a story and the parapet wall and a little bit of what would be the second story, which was going to look to them to be the first story.
Do you think that the neighbors in the back from the second story of their home are going to be looking down onto the roof of this building?
Well, what I provided for many commissions in the past, with their permission, I would photograph the property from what they see, and I would superimpose our building into that rendering to illustrate what they would see.
But you did.
I did.
Thanks, I don't have any more.
Commissioner Baratz, then Commissioner Alessi, Parker, Jacobs.
Well, I mean, Commissioner Leslie, if you have some follow-ups to what Mr. Wagner was saying, I'd let you go before me.
Oh, there is one more typo in the plans, by the way. You
Yeah, the
misspelled
town of
Fairfield.
Fairfield is an E in Fairfield, too.
Apologize.
Commissioner Baratz.
Okay, yeah, mine, it's actually more follow-up on what Commissioner Jacobs was asking, but this is not a zone change application. It's a neighborhood design business district. However, I would like to ask of the applicant or even of the staff, if we could have, to orient ourselves, a map of this neighborhood design business district, just noting what the other surrounding properties are, commercial, what's commercial, residential within this district. I just admit, I'm not as familiar with this one as I am with Stratfield, Greenfield Hill, Southport, some of the other neighborhood design business districts. So just to understand what some of these adjoining properties are beyond the property, if there's a way to get that. I realize,
We
I mean,
we have a complete inventory of all of the
neighborhood design business districts.
so we can provide.
Could you get that and we could make it part of the record so we could actually review that and see? Because I think in assessing the impact, that was really my question, just so we get that part of the record.
Richard, you done?
Yeah, that's it.
Big chance he's not paying attention.
Mr. Lashley.
How many downspouts you have coming off this building? Your plans are showing, am I reading this 4?
Well, they're going to be in large downspouts, and the roof is controlled. It's all pitched to the back of the building.
What are the 4-inch PVC pipes that are running through the corners? What you have here? You have 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, the engineer took into account the roof runoff.
Right.
Whether or not we have 2 large ones or 4 small ones.
But you're showing a whole parking lot, a 6-inch PVC pipe around the whole parking lot, with 4 4-inch downspouts dumping into them.
Well, they're under the parking lot,
Right.
they're feeding around.
Right.
The engineer of record, that's what his recommendation of how we're going to grab it, because this whole roof pitches to the back, so we're picking up the roof runoff
And
along the back edge.
who maintains the building?
It will be maintained by Jerry Flynn Construction.
After it's for...
After they're going to hold on to the property.
Because it says here, the contractor has to install the recharge system in accordance with the manufacturer's specifications. Do you have that?
I don't have the specifications in front of me.
And it says the owner has to maintain the system by having it cleaned at least once a year. And the owner has to have the gutters cleaned to avoid trash in the recharge system as well. Also, do you have the side elevations to show the pitch of the backyard, the property behind you, to show how much runoff you're going to be getting from this property, considering it's so much lower now? Or practically around the whole building, actually, because the property level is now sitting so much lower compared to the surrounding properties. We're going to be getting runoff from those properties as well. That's not taken into consideration in your drainage plan.
I can't answer that. In my knowledge, a neighboring property cannot adversely affect the other neighbor's property with water runoff.
Oh, sure it can.
It can. If that is something, I can tell you right now that between the wall and what we have, we can very easily create a curtain drain.
Well, what's the wall going to be made out of?
It'd probably be a poured, 10-inch poured foundation, reinforced foundation.
Phosphor foundation wall. And it's going to be...
Joe, you're talking about the wall to the rear?
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about the whole surrounding property. He's not taking into consideration to the sewage and drainage plan, the runoff from the property all around the building that's higher than the whole parking.
Okay, to be clear, I wasn't sure what wall you're talking about.
Well, because if you look, it's really clear in this one.
Site? What's this site?
There's one where you get the view from the back, and view C on the site. It sort of shows how the cars are parked up into the wall in the back. So there's like this retaining wall basically built around the entire property.
That's what you're talking about, right, Chair?
Yeah.
Right. Well,
This
on both, if you look on this, both sides and the rear, they're higher.
You can't see the car because
I
it's parked.
think to answer the question, that with the project being approved, that could be a criteria to get a curtain drain behind that wall to handle any type of water runoff, enlarge the scope of survey work to take into consideration the 3 abutting lots in the back.
Yeah, but we don't have a survey here in this plan. I mean, as far as the surrounding area, we're not looking at seeing any elevations or any other surveys, though, done on the property. In fact, I think it says here, boundary determination is based upon a dependent resurvey. So we're going to have to definitely have a survey done
Well, that is a current A2 that's in
Yeah.
front of you, showing our drainage and all of that, what we needed to
Right.
provide for this hearing.
Right, but the only thing is they're not just showing any elevations on the front property.
I would really go back to, because if we're meeting the criteria of what we're trying to accomplish tonight, I would put that in as a contingency to have the neighboring surveys to make sure that we're handling any adverse runoff from the neighboring properties onto our property and in dealing with it there.
But one of our things that we want to accomplish tonight is that your retention system is adequate, and we can't, because we don't know what we're going to face surrounding it by lowering your grade on all three sides of this property. Correct?
I'd say you can't answer the question because the engineer who designed the drainage is not here to really speak all of what he took into consideration. I did not do the engineering, I'm not a civil engineer, so I think to address that would once again be that would have to be determined upon approval.
Is the wall being shown on the plans anywhere? The construction of the wall, the retaining wall?
No, it is not.
So
We addressed the
word that's a 10-inch wall, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 pound concrete?
We have our structural engineer of record on this project, Jose Miguel Albain, would determine that, and during our construction documents would be engineered and stamped for approval.
No, I understand that, but when we're submitting plans and we're reviewing plans, we should know what kind of retaining wall that we're going up against as well. I mean, it could be, the plans could change, and he could feel that later on, we can go with a uniblock wall.
I think that's
which is going to cause all underwater.
It's a great question.
Water to come through.
What I'm trying to address, though, the format of these drawings, which the numbers are dead on, when we get to the next level, because for Mr. Flynn to go down a road to create the construction documents for an actual build of that wall without the approval of this commission wouldn't be prudent on Jerry's behalf.
If I may, it seems to me that the commission is asking some very good questions in terms of, I'm struck by some questions on the drainage detail and some questions on the sight lines, and particularly the roof utilities and the view to the neighbors. I note that there are many members of the public here who are obviously concerned with that as well, and certainly the applicant is sensitive to that. And by the way, I should also note here that, and I want to reiterate that there has been an effort to reach out to the community to get input on this, and I know that the applicant went out into the community, and it's apparent that some people who are here did not have an opportunity to speak to the applicant and vice versa. What I'm going to propose is an opportunity to provide the commission, first of all, with a sightline drawing that incorporates a 5-foot wall on the rear line of the property and shows what the actual view and what the visual impact is. And I think this is important because I think it would be both a good tool for the applicant to understand what the impact is, but more significantly for the neighbors, and more significantly than that, or equally significantly, for this commission to understand what the impact is in considering this application. I understand the questions that are being asked on the drainage, and I think those are important questions that should be responded to, and there should be additional detail provided on that. The rules, as I've indicated on applications in the past, these hearings are governed by law in Connecticut under the rules of fundamental fairness, and this commission has always been, in my experience, fair and considered all opinions and sides on all application and all available information in order to make an appropriate and correct decision based on your regulations. So I guess what I would ask for is the commission's guidance on and a request for an opportunity to provide some additional data, I think, to provide. I'm also struck by providing some additional contours to answer Commissioner Alessi's questions and what the impacts are on the site drainage. I don't know whether the commission is inclined to
continue the hearing at this point. I do have Mr. Galanti here, so what we might do is move on to the traffic report and come back to the engineering. I don't know that we would complete the public hearing this evening under any circumstances.
Yeah, what I'm going to do is, I have to talk to staff about a scheduling matter on this, because if we don't finish tonight, or if you ask us the opportunity to submit additional documents, we have a full agenda. We have to discuss scheduling and the number of days to decide this.
In fashioning whatever the commission determines is the correct way to proceed, what we would propose to do is provide the information in a timely manner and perhaps electronically. It's a concern to my client and certainly to my concern that members of the public have access to all of the information regarding this application. We could submit it electronically, and I know in the past the town has occasionally put this information up on the town website so that anyone who's interested can see it easily without being put to too much inconvenience.
And we're going to need, if you could, would you agree to a consent to an extension of the time?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we actually already have, I think we had submitted a letter extending the...
I'd have to compute what the statute has changed. You used to be able to double, with 35 days to complete the hearing, it could be extended. We can only have a total of 65 total days of extension in the entire process. I've got to go back and calculate how many extension days we've used to get to today.
Well, we'll discuss that during the brief recess I'm going to take. I want to talk to staff about that. And something else you may want to just think about with your client, that jumps out at me is your drawings are inconsistent with each other. And you may want, for instance, if you look at your site plan, view A, the left side of the building is inconsistent with the south view on A6 the way it's drawn. The right side of the building on view B is inconsistent with A5 it's drawing.
We had actually sat down with Mr. Wendt, and I'm struck by the fact that we may have had, as I looked at the drawings and the designation on the drawings, I think there may have been a different set of documents that were final drawings that may not have reached the commission, and I think this may have been
That's what I'm wondering.
an inadvertent draft that,
View A
because I had actually made corrections to these drawings.
Well, S6 is inconsistent with view A. The walls are different heights.
So, Commissioner Baratz, that's
Yeah,
good.
the point is different documents on the board.
Understood, and that's what leads me to that conclusion.
I mean, I know other people were in the queue to go. There was just one question I had that might be just relevant to what the chairman was just asking. And Mr. Green, you could just, all these drawings are dated like 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago. Are we seeing current drawings? Is the data still good?
And that's
is
what
my
leads
question.
me to the conclusion that the drawings may not be the correct drawings that reach the commission. And
Right.
I
This
was
site
struck by
plan
that
is
early on in the question.
March 25th, 2010, and the only addition on the revision thing is added stairs on April 4th, 2012. So I'm concerned with what documents are in front of us.
As am I.
Maybe you could discuss that amongst yourselves while I call a brief recess and I talk to staff about scheduling. So we're going to stand at a brief recess for 5 minutes.
Session, I think.
Meeting is back in session. Again, we are on 448 Old Stratfield Road. Attorney Green?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as I understand it, there are a variety of scheduling challenges and issues presented by trying to continue the hearing based on the fact that there was already an extension granted by the applicant here. As I had indicated, the applicant is eager to present the commission with additional information, in particular information on sight lines and some of the and responding to some of the issues that the commission has raised. In order to do that, and certainly we can't do that this evening, so what we would propose to do is to withdraw the application this evening, and I will send a letter to staff in the morning confirming the withdrawal, but then we will refile the application, including information responsive to the questions that have been asked by the commission, and we certainly thank the commission for your thoughtful input on the project, and we look forward to coming back with an application that answers the questions and certainly the concerns of the neighbors, and we look forward to having a thoughtful and constructive dialogue with the neighbors as well, who are here this evening.
Thank you.
And again, thank you for your time this evening.
So that would effectively conclude the hearing on this matter, the withdrawal of the application. To the members of the public, what that means is there's no opportunity for you to speak tonight because there's no longer an application for this project before it. It's been withdrawn. Attorney Green will refile on behalf of this applicant Probably you're not going to see this on our agenda before January, I'm anticipating, given the schedule of other matters. But I'd suggest, since you're here tonight, if any of you want to get Attorney Green's address or his client's address or share your information so there can be a dialogue, you know, to do that before you leave, if you wanted to discuss it or get the plans ahead of time before they come, you know, or when they come out, get notified. We'll talk to Attorney Green now, but there's nothing to discuss tonight for members of the public because there's no longer an application that this commission has to decide.
Certainly, I see members of the RTM tonight who I'm familiar with, and certainly if they have concerns, I would hope that they would reach out to me ahead of time, and that we could have a dialogue as well with their concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. With that being said, there being no further business before the commission, we will stand in adjournment, and I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.